take the brakes off. And alright, yeah. Whatever takes us, so yeah, yeah, oh yeah. To get high. I chase the devil, yeah, yeah, yeah. Into the sky, oh yeah. Taught me where to fly. I forget my name, oh, 'cause it's so insane. Cocaine, yeah. Oh, I forget my name. Oh, I forget my name, 'cause it's so insane. I take the brakes off. And alright. Who never takes us? Oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, to get high. Oh, I forget my name. Oh, 'cause it's so insane. Cocaine, yeah. Oh, I forget my name. Oh, I forget my name. 'Cause it's so insane. Cocaine, yeah. Oh, I forget my name. See, I drink the venom to release the pain. Oh, chain smoking, I suffocate, yeah. 'Cause we be rebels, the beast untamed. Sticky fingers, don't forget the name. Oh, 'cause it's so insane. Cocaine, yeah. Oh, I forget my name. Oh, I forget my name. 'Cause it's so insane. Cocaine, yeah. Oh, I forget my name. Oh, I forget my name.
Yo, welcome, Rooster Grooves people. I am Jesse. This is Jay sitting across from me. That's Jay Purcell.
Hello, everybody.
He started Signal Radio. So we're here today talking about sticky fingers. It is good to be here in Seattle, Washington on a rainy day.
Another rainy day. Yeah.
We're here. We out here.
We are here, yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We're coming up on our 100th episode. We're excited.
Yeah, I think I've lost count. This might be our 99th or 98th episode,
Yeah.
actually. I should have counted.
Could be the penultimate.
Exactly, yeah. Still don't know what we're going to do for 100. It might just be another episode. Just
Might just
another
be
normal day.
We don't know. We're just rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Sticky Fingers, band
Right.
out of Australia.
Yeah.
Pop reggae, psychedelic reggae.
Yeah.
You got a real, they're kind of genre bending. They're like indie rock, psychedelic music mixed with, what am I trying to think of?
I don't know. So they strayed away from the reggae a little bit.
Yeah,
First couple of albums and was that, and then I feel they sound like a laid back groovy Strokes maybe or something.
Yeah, sure, which is cool.
Yeah.
They have a really like laid back demeanor.
Yeah.
Just as a band.
Musically.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah.
We'll get into the rest.
They have some
Yeah.
possible opinions.
Right. Yeah.
And things like that. Yeah. But as far as their band image goes, they have just a real chill demeanor. They're just relaxed. They just want to have a good time kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it, but I think overall these guys are good guys.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like implying something, leaving an implication in this intro.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah,
I like
foreshadowing.
It's great. Keep the listeners hooked until the end.
I think overall they're good people.
Yeah. And from Australia, right? And 5-piece. Apparently they're massive in Australia, right?
Yeah, I think that
Sounds
they
like
basically became one of the biggest bands out of Australia.
Yeah, like if you're in Australia, you probably know of them. It's like mainstream over there or something like that.
Probably.
Maybe.
Still to this day, they just dropped an album in 2022.
Yeah, and they say in their official bio that they've hit 1 billion streams since they started. I
So
think
they're like a low key huge band.
low key huge band. Yeah, I mean they do tour the world. Yeah, I mean, but
I've not heard of them though.
I'm not heard of them. Yeah, so how do you suggested them today? How did you come across them?
My buddy, my cousin, Johnny, who I run the pizza business with, Dude's Wood Fired Pizza.
Dudes with Fire Pizza, is it .com?
Yeah.
Mate, spell it out for the people.
Ooh, I can't spell that. DUDZWOODFIREDPIZZA.com.
There you go.
I think that was right.
Yeah, if you're in Seattle and you have DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that, look it up.
Yeah.
Damn Fine Pizza.
Yep.
There you go.
Open Friday through Sunday. Good stuff.
So your cousin?
Yeah, so Johnny.
Yeah.
He just came, he was just playing. We were making some pizzas at the pizza shop and he was just playing. He was like, "You heard of this band? They're pretty sick." And I was like, "No, I have not heard of this band." So we played him.
Was he playing the earlier stuff, like the reggae stuff?
So that was the first song that we played, which is why I wanted to open with that track, How to Fly.
Yeah.
That's what I was introduced to.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a really cool, vibey track.
Right.
Just not too much to it. It's not overly complex or progressive.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel really good and relaxed.
Yeah.
And it's a really chill, groovy vibe that you can get into.
Yeah.
So I liked it for that reason. So I checked him out.
Yeah.
Thought it'd be a perfect type of band to talk about with you.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's a great Roots to Grooves band, and I think they've proven that they really are.
Yeah.
They're really cool, laid back. They have like 5 albums out, a couple of EPs. They've toured the world, like you said.
Yeah. They've gone on hiatus. They've come back.
Yeah.
They've mostly stuck together since they formed in 2008, right?
Right.
But there's only like one. I was thinking we should name check their members. They only have one former member who left in 2009, so he wasn't even there. One of the original guitarists and keyboardists, a guy called Taras, left pretty early on, but the rest of them have been there the whole time.
I think we should name drop them. Yeah.
All right.
I'll say the name. You say the instrument.
Okay.
Dylan Frost.
Lead vocals, rhythm guitar.
Patty Cornwall.
Bass, backing vocals.
I'm not sure how to say this. Seamus. Is that fair?
I would say Seamus.
Is that right? Seamus Coyle.
Lead guitar.
Beaker Best.
Drums, percussion.
Freddie Krabs.
Keys, synthesizers.
Nice. And then, Terrace was the one guy who was there, and then he left.
Yeah, so he was only there for like 1 year when they first formed, it seems like.
I think he was on the EP Helping Hand.
There you go.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And he was out. Don't know the story.
Yeah.
He was kicked out, or he wanted to go to school or start a family. Who knows?
Yeah.
Let us know if you guys know.
I have one more description of their sound that I thought was... It wasn't attributed to anyone, but it was on their Wikipedia page. I thought it was interesting. It says, "A melting pot of reggae, psych, and bourbon, hypnotizing you into a swaying trance, then punching you in the face for dancing like a hippie. Their borderline contradictory fusion of flavors speaks to every walk of life, and it's this multiplicity which makes the world their oyster."
Straight up.
Unattributed.
Podcast done.
Podcast done. Mic drop.
That was good. I like that. I think that's very apt.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I was going to say, there's a couple influences.
Oh, yeah.
Like musical influences of the band. It's like psychedelic reggae music, and they were influenced by The Clash, Pink Floyd, Arctic Monkeys. So those were, I don't know exactly who listed those, but
Right. Yeah.
that's all I got right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good little overview of the band. What do we think? What else do we got?
Overview wise, I think
Yeah.
that's for now maybe a good approach.
Yeah. Sticky Fingers, cool psychedelic reggae band. Good people.
Yeah.
Good music out of Australia. Sydney specifically. I think I didn't say that.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, let's get into another track.
Yeah. Land of Pleasure, from Land of Pleasure.
Without giving time,
Sticky Fingers with a track called Land of Pleasure from their second album called Land of Pleasure.
Very pleasurable.
Very pleasurable. It's like a EDM track almost.
Almost a little like
vibes.
electronic vibe.
Yeah. And they kind of tried to sound a little bit British with their vocals. It sounds like a little bit.
Were they trying to, you think?
A little bit. And some of those parts, yeah.
Would you say there's some similarities between British accent and an Australian accent?
No.
None?
No. Well, vaguely Cockney, like London accent. The thing that's interesting though is most people, British people, if they spend too much time in Australia, they adopt an Australian accent very easily. It sounds like.
Really?
So yeah, I've known people that have come back and I'm like, "What? Are you fucking Australian now? What's happened with your accent?"
You're too good for the Brits now?
Yeah. It's easier. The morph happens easier than anywhere else. Like even coming to America, sometimes
Really?
it happens. I think.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but yeah, I've noticed that. So
I got to go to Australia one day.
yeah,
All right, so let's talk about where these guys come from. I
Right.
don't really have a lot of early info about like their childhoods
No.
or their families.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to find that.
yeah,
But basically, I got up to where they meet.
yeah,
So I think the drummer Patty and Best, I think they kind of met, and they met the singer Dylan, and then they all started busking together.
right, yeah. In a suburb called Newtown, right? Newtown, Newtown.
I think there's a hotel called Cooper's Hotel.
Okay, yeah,
I think that was the location.
yeah. That's where they met, I think, and formed the band. Started just putting the material together.
It seemed like they just were like off running
And they were
started to create.
pretty young, right? I think they were like 18, 19 or something like that.
Yeah, late teens.
Yeah. So, then they just started gigging around Sydney, I think, at that time.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah.
They played their first live show. And then the following October 2009, they released their first E EP.
Right. And then, so the only thing I know is that, was it the Newtown Music Festival? Is that what they call it?
I think that's the big jumping off point for this story.
Yeah. So,
So they built up a little bit of momentum. They got a little bit of a band.
Yeah.
Not even sure if they have the name Sticky Fingers yet.
right.
But they're busking. They're creating.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Or maybe at this point in 2009 they've added a drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, go on where you were going.
And so this Newtown Music Festival was a pretty big deal in this area. And they applied to play it a couple of times and were denied 2 times. So I think after the second rejection, they were like, fuck it, we're going to do our own DIY show close to the festival, like in the backyard type thing. And they got like a massive audience there. It was a big party time, I think. I think might have seen a brief clip or photo of it. It looks crazy.
Yeah.
And that just really sort of like, energized the crowd. There were a few other people in the crowd there. This one guy, is it Dan Hume, that went on to produce their music. He was there in the crowd, kind of thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
But I think that was this event. It was, the catalyst for them meeting people and getting that amount of exposure to go on to the next level of being a band, I think. So it was, really cool. I guess I heard 2 stories, which was one, they kind of like renegated their way into the festival and set up on one of the stages.
Oh, really?
But the other story I heard, which I think is the true one, was it was at like a friend's house,
Right.
somewhere near the vicinity of the festival, but not actually on the festival grounds.
Right. I think that's right. Yeah.
So,
It's like
yeah.
just outside. So
Right.
which is a cool idea to do because you're kind of also sniping the crowd of people that are just getting there or maybe wanted to go in but couldn't get in or something like that. And they're just like, oh, let's just
The underage kids who can't go in.
Let's have a free party out here, kind of thing. Yeah. So and they're all young. So yeah.
I wonder. I don't have the info, but how they got a crowd. Like if it was just the vicinity, like it was visible, so you could see as you're walking in, like, oh, festival, or I can go to this party.
Right. Yeah.
Or if they had to do flyers or what,
I'm gonna assume it's just the vicinity and the fact that they were loud.
Yeah.
And there was a band playing music
It
there.
just drew attention.
Yeah, people were like, "Oh, this must be part of the festival or something."
Yeah.
Or some sideshow kind of thing.
That makes the most sense.
Yeah, makes the most sense.
That's really cool.
Again, we're assuming, but I think it's an educated assumption, maybe. Like
Educated speculation.
educated speculation.
So, but I mean, I really like the DIY status. Like they just, let's do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like they don't want us to play in the festival.
Right.
We're going to play our set anyway.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So they do it. They eventually release a couple EPs. They get hooked up with a couple like team members as far as the guy who wants to produce them.
Yeah.
I think some other people like, so Triple J. Let's talk about Triple J.
Radio station in Sydney, right? Based in Sydney, yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure they were, proponents of this festival. I'm sure they obviously knew about it and probably had a booth or
Right.
at least sent out an agent to be like, scouting.
Yeah.
Is there any bands out there
Yeah.
that we could play on the radio or whatever? So I think they got a little bit hooked up through that as well. And so then Triple J started playing Sticky Fingers one way or another.
Yeah.
And they kind of formed a cool bond
Yeah.
where Sticky, is that the sound of the heater?
Yeah, in the background, folks, that's Seattle warming up in the studio. It's
cold.
Yeah.
Don't mind us. There was a good relationship between Triple J and Sticky Fingers, and they were giving them a lot of airtime.
Yeah.
Heightening their. I think it's a little distracting for
It
them.
is, yeah.
But just pushing them to the next level of engagement with their audience.
Yeah.
New listeners, more people listening, and.
Yeah, I mean, massive airplay on a big station.
I mean, just that.
And yeah, I mean, that's kind of all we need, really. Like, but we're also talking different times. We're talking like 2013, like early 2010s. So,
Right.
like streaming and stuff. I always forget when Spotify started and all that, but
I probably got it in like 2011.
right, yeah,
Or 12 even.
yeah, I think so, yeah, around this time. So it was still like the time where
I think I barely got a cell phone in 2008.
exactly, yeah. I don't think I had my first iPhone until 2014 or 15 or something.
This
I don't
stuff
know,
is
yeah.
new.
Exactly. Yeah. So so back then, like if getting radio airplay is a big deal, and then also releasing music at the same time, so if people were hearing something, they can go to iTunes or your local record store and buy a real CD, which still happened, I think, back then, kind of thing. Or,
In the olden days of 2008.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then just continuing to play shows as well, like around Sydney kind of thing. Especially, I guess, like, Australia is a massive country, but it's still a little bit cut off from the rest of the world, I feel like. And, it's not like they have, like, thousands of, like, bands that are, like, doing it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they still have, like, all of the American and British artists in their mainstream and played on their radio. And, like, the Australian acts are there, but they're, it's still a special thing, I think, to find a really dope Australian act.
Right.
And, sort of thing. So, yeah.
100%. So they got hooked up with Dan Hume, who was kind of like turned into like a right-hand man kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a manager really, but he got them to eventually play the Newtown Music Festival the next year.
Officially.
Yeah, so they were on the bill, they did it, and that, pushed them to the next level of being a band as far as exposure and stuff. So they got on Caress Your Soul was the first album.
Right, yeah.
Let's talk about the first album, Caress Your Soul. That's where How to Fly, the first track we played off this podcast.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. That was in 2013.
Yeah.
And so that made it to number 39 on the Australian albums chart. So they're just kind of trajectories going up. And then I'm just going to jump straight to the second album, Land of Pleasure, where we played that last song.
Yeah.
And that made it to number 3 on the Australian albums chart in 2014.
And Paddy said when they did this album, they were drenched in alcohol and drugs whilst they were doing this.
So they're on this
time.
come up as a band.
Yeah.
And they're seeing a lot of success pretty quick as pretty young people.
Yeah.
And so I think this is kind of leading, this is their story. It was kind of leading to a culmination of all these variables at the same time.
Yeah.
Where, they're given freedom, they're traveling, they're making music, they're young, dumb.
They've said, in hindsight, in a later, more recent interview, they said at this time also they were not taking care of themselves or each other. They were partying a lot. And
they were just straight having a good time.
They were young, 20s, in a band, touring, drugs and alcohol flowing kind of
So
thing.
they just weren't really
yeah.
focusing or being intentional about responsibility or longevity or sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something they've said as well. It's like they just do it for fun anyway. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they said they just want to have fun and put it into the music. It's
Yeah,
like something
this is
they've
not
said, yeah.
this is not the band that's like, we're gonna win a Grammy and we're gonna play the biggest shows. We want to be the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, we're all business people, you know. We're
Yeah.
all doing this social media marketing thing. It's like,
Right. No, they're just some kids who want to have fun.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's going through music.
Yeah,
And I can get behind that.
yeah,
So they're on their come up. They're starting to do big tours.
yeah.
Yeah, they were gaining like fans in France, Germany, New Zealand. So they're becoming more worldwide known. The Netherlands, UK.
Yeah.
And so then coming up on 2015, the band had postponed their tour for personal reasons, I think.
Right.
And I think that was personal. So at this point in the band, I think they start feeling some issues start to come up.
Yeah.
You know, that we're talking about from 2015 to 2018 time period a little bit.
Yeah.
And they start experiencing, I think it's Dylan has some mental health issues. What else is going on in the band right now?
I think sort of. Well, I think it was Seamus. Let me just check. Paddy. Sorry, Paddy was in a mental hospital for a little bit. They called it a mental hospital. I don't know if that's like the right way to call it. Maybe a psychotherapy thing or something. I don't know. More PC way of saying something.
Insane asylum.
Exactly, yeah. And Dylan was like sort of struggling with alcoholism and his behavior.
Just general
from that.
debauchery.
General debauchery, yeah. And he's a character, man. All of these guys are characters. If you ever see any of them interviewed, they're not, they're not straight-laced people.
Yeah.
Maybe the drummer's straight-laced. He's like the most quiet, well-behaved
He's
one.
the most
right?
reserved and chill.
Exactly, yeah. And you kind of have to be, I think. As a drummer, speaking personally, I've been trashed trying to play drums at a show once, which I've mentioned before on here.
Uh-oh.
That was the first show after 7 years of not playing, though. Totally didn't think about, that aspect. But yeah, if you get trashed as a drummer and then you get on stage, I wasn't even playing rock music. Or I was like playing pretty chilled out stuff. And I couldn't do it. I was like struggling to keep up. So I don't know. I feel like as a singer, you can get trashed, it's fine. Maybe as a guitarist, as a drummer, it's like physical. I guess it's hard for everyone, but like.
But drummers are the metronome, a lot of the time holding down the beat for the band.
Exactly, yeah. So if your timing's all over the place, or you.
Then everybody's all over the place.
Exactly, yeah. The whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. Drummers are important.
Yeah. Oh, thanks to that fucking sound, man, that whole time.
Yeah, that was rough. Sorry,
Great.
everybody.
Sorry about that, guys.
Maybe we could take it out in post
Filter it out.
editing. I don't know. Yeah. So where are we at?
It was around this time, right, that so this album, the third album, Westway, came out in 2016, right? But I think it was around this time before that came out that they said they were taking a hiatus, right? Or was it after this album that they took the hiatus? I'm not quite sure, but it was around this time. I know for sure they said they posted in 2016 that they were taking time
For
out,
sure. I
right?
have, December 5th, 2016, the band announced they would be going on an indefinite hiatus in February. So even like looking ahead a little bit due to several internal issues.
Yeah. And I guess like we should talk about the controversy, right? This is like, I think it was around this time, right?
I'm not exactly sure exactly when specifically these things happened, but this is a big thing to talk about with Sticky Fingers and kind of the main story that we want to tell today.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're on this come up trajectory. Things are going good. Things are getting wild because they're experiencing success and they're young and they're not handling it in a super responsible way, maybe is the way to say it. So they had to take a hiatus, and it's due to internal issues. The singer was being accused of being racist and sexist. Yeah. So they were kind of like in interviews, and so I guess specifically we can talk about it. The one on Triple J, there was a specific interview, and they were asking him about some of these incidences. I don't remember specifically what they were. Maybe you do, but I think there was one. They were playing a set with another band or something, and they had interacted.
So there's so I guess the Triple J interview that was terrible for them was like the third thing that happened to them.
Right. That was
and that interview was about the two previous incidents. So the first incident.
There we go.
Yeah, it was this band in Sydney, I think called Dispossessed. They're sort of a punk band, but they have indigenous members. And they were playing a set, and Dylan was just in the audience. And I think at a certain point, one of the members from Dispossessed was like giving some kind of speech about indigenous people and something like that. And someone from the audience shouted out, "Just play another song," or something like that. Kind of disrespectful, cutting them off. And then this whole brouhaha happened between the band and the audience. And Dylan was there. And from the accounts I've heard people say, like, he wasn't like shouting at the band. He was like trying to defend them or tell the audience to shut up. But he was also drunk, it sounds like, as well. So there could have been this whole confusion and
I think that's what it was.
Words flying around.
It was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
People don't know who shouted what.
Yeah.
But people wanted to turn on somebody.
Yeah.
And it was, crowd mentality.
Right.
An intense moment as a show is going on.
Yeah.
So just a lot of energy, a lot of emotion happening in this moment.
Yeah. So that happened. And then I think there was a video that someone took and put on the internet, and then they got all taken out of context and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there was another interaction where Dylan was in a pub with some other singer from another band, and she's indigenous as well. I'm not sure if she was in Dispossessed or someone else. I should fact check this. I'm ballsing it up. Sorry, folks.
I think it was someone else, but
yeah. And apparently he shouted obscenities at her and maybe spat in her face or something like that. And
that's what I heard.
No one really knows what happened there. That's all hearsay. But the woman that was spat on, like, I think came out and gave an account of the story, sort of thing, which is like, And I think in subsequent years, Dylan hasn't sort of characterized those events in any other way. I think he's acknowledged that they happened, kind of thing.
Right.
But here's the thing that fucked up is when he was interviewed on Triple J about it. Dylan's not someone that's actually out there in front when the band's interviewed anyway. Like, it's kind of strange. Like, he's quiet most of the time, and then he'll just like act up and like walk in front of the camera like an ape or something like that. And so he's kind of got this strange personality where he's quiet but like animated.
I think he's been diagnosed with like a bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Or
schizophrenia
or something.
Yeah.
One of those. I'm pretty sure I read both of those.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose or anything, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think he was diagnosed with some kind of issue like that,
right,
which may cause him to act out of character sometimes.
Yeah. And so like this interview was put together, and Triple J had been a big supporter of this band, like we said, and then they took them out of playlists. They weren't playing them at all anymore, and they basically arranged this interview because the station knew that I think it would draw in a lot of listeners.
There's a story. There's a big band in Australia at this time.
Yeah. And Dylan was asked, about these incidences, and he let something slip about something like "boys will be boys" kind of thing.
That's the quote. He said, "Boys will be boys."
And then like the presenter like pressed him on it. It's like, wait a minute, what do you mean by "boys will be boys"? And Dylan was trying to sort of explain about like the drunkenness and a bunch of guys rolling around and like that type of energy. He was trying to explain something like this, but it came off really badly.
He came off as dismissive.
Yeah.
And not apologetic.
Yeah. And apparently, subsequently, I heard that when they finish, there's a longer... So the interview that Triple J released was an edited version. Apparently, there's like they were in there for like over an hour doing this thing. So the band said there's a longer version of the conversation that hasn't been released. Also, the band said that after it finished, the presenter went up to one of the guys and shook him in the hand and said, "Sorry, they made me do this." Like,
oh really?
And the band member said like it was really awkward. The guy like really like stared me in the eyes and like squeezed my hand and said they made me do this. So it was like that leads me to believe, I don't know, the band member said that. Don't know how true it is. We're just going off of this information, but like that leads me to believe the station were just like, we're gonna like prod. We're going to like
poke them a little bit.
We're going to poke the bit, like see how they fuck up so we can create some controversy. And so like, I think the band said like they felt like they were the guinea pigs for cancel culture. Like,
that was, that's probably when cancel culture was really starting.
It's just starting up. And I think the problem is, and the band have talked about this, is that they weren't equipped to deal or respond to any of this, especially the fact that a lot of them are still abusing substances, still rolling around in that kind of chaotic way kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're not like, I think people were like looking to them to sort of like set a moral high ground and like set the record straight and apologize. And none of that happened because, frankly, the band didn't know how to deal with that media sort of attention and spotlight on them. They said they didn't have a big label backing behind them. They didn't have any PR people helping them out. It was just them. Like, and so they've said subsequently, like, yeah, we should have come out and we should have said this and that and the other. But they said they didn't know how to deal with that at the time. They just didn't.
It wasn't their job to be the PR people. Like they weren't trying to like devastate their own band.
Exactly. Yeah.
They just didn't know, like you said, they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to respond at that time.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it put them in a negative light.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even though that's not what they were trying, and they didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I think there's no excusing bad behavior and shitty behavior, but you know, at the same time though, it's like, you got to be a little bit more pragmatic. Like, you know, it's like if a child like smashes something and throws a tantrum, you're not going to cancel them.
Yeah. Like
you're going to be like, you know, okay, this is what you did wrong. You need to like learn what you did wrong, and you need to like kind of figure that out, you know, and then not do that again, like in the future. And I know these Sticky Fingers guys are supposed to be adults, but they're still like 20 something, and they're in a band and they're rolling around, getting out of it, being rock stars. It's like, do you really like look to those people for like moral guidance and like
what are you
things?
expecting from these type of people, these kids?
Yeah. It's like it's putting a bit of pressure on them. Especially, it's different if it's just a conversation amongst people, but once it's like mainstream fucking media spotlight, it's like, come on.
I mean, it's just like you said, it seems like it's coming from Triple J, and they made somebody do this. Like they knew they had an agenda. Like they saw an opportunity to get people listening to their station. Yeah. Like, ooh, let's rile these guys up. See what, you know, they knew there was a situation. Yeah. And they gave them the opportunity. They could have said, "Oh, I'm sorry. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have said this."
Well, they could have coached them. Because apparently they also they asked them onto the show and told them that they wouldn't talk about this. Like apparently, that's what the band members said.
This is all on Triple J.
Yeah.
That's
what it seems like.
Triple J is not looking good in this situation.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, then that's what I'm kind of settling on.
Yeah.
I don't think the band did anything super wrong. They should have apologized for the things that they did wrong, and they should have admitted it and been a little bit more empathetic and like out front about the situation and handled it with responsibility and accountability. Yeah. But they just didn't. But I can't blame them for that because they were kids.
Yeah. And they had no one supporting them, you know, around them.
No like role model type band manager or anything like that, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, and one thing they've also said is about this is throughout this whole process, one of the band members said it's hard to better yourself when people are saying shit about you.
I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Like you're trying to like, okay, I'm trying to figure out all of this shit but you know.
Like you're trying to figure out who you are and people are telling you who you are or what you're not.
People are tweeting this, that and the other about who you are and what you think and all that when you're not really there mentally to like address that or like take that in kind of thing, you know? So
unfortunate circumstance. That's kind of what happens when you get famous.
Yeah.
You kind of, there's some compromises you got to take.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the most interesting story about this band, and they kind of made it out the other end. And I've seen, you know, videos where they're kind of talking about the past, and they're like, that's all in the past now. Yeah. We do apologize. We're sorry for how that happened. We're sorry for how we responded to the things happening. Yeah. And they seem apologetic, and they seem like they want to spread love, and they just want to create music and spread love through the music. Yeah. From what I'm seeing. So that's for that reason I'm saying these guys, they do seem cool. Yeah. And, you know, chill.
Let's play another song.
Yeah, let's get into it.
A song. I'll just play it. We'll tell you what it is afterwards.
dreams, they're coming at me. Nowhere else to be. In my eyes, in the velvet morning skies, start to please. So who's it gonna be? What's always been cheap? Go ahead, love me heaps. There's water under here, but my bridge is never free. But it's good to know you're right there in my head. You know I don't care. So take what's coming slanted, 'cause morning comes for granted. And I feel alive. It's a sign I will not die. Hey, what's always being cheap? Go ahead, love me heaps. There's water under here, but my bridge is never free. But it's good to know you're right there in my head. You know I don't care. So take what's coming slanted, 'cause morning comes for granted. It's bad to know you're not scared. In my head, you know I don't care. So take what's coming slanted, 'cause morning comes for slanted. And I feel alive. It's a sign I will not die. Hey,
Sleeping Through the Flood from Sticky Fingers from their album Yours to Keep.
So good.
That's a really nice track, that. And Yours to Keep was, what, their fourth album? Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. And at this time, they got sober to do this album, they said. They all went to this one residential recording studio, and most of them went vegan, they said. Some of them started surfing. They all decided to be sober for the writing and the recording of this album.
And so this is after the hiatus, is that right?
Yeah, so they came back after the hiatus.
Yeah, March 26th, 2018,
Yeah.
they sent a picture on their Instagram with the five of them together.
Yeah.
Basically saying, or I think the caption was, "Look who's back."
Right. Yeah.
And so they were ready, signaling the return. So on March 30th that year, they played Bad Friday, a neighborhood music festival in Sydney. And then, 2018, they released a comeback single, Kick On, from that album, I think. Mm-hmm. And they started, doing some touring and stuff. And then that album came out.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different direction. They're pushing. You can hear the sound evolving as their albums come out.
Yeah. They're not doing the reggae vibe anymore. Like, I don't really hear it in there at all, actually. Like,
I think it's cool that they moved away from it.
Yeah, I do as well, because I like reggae, but it's also a little bit like...
You can't just do reggae all the time.
No, you can't just do reggae. There's only a
It's
certain
good in
number
a
of
little
grooves.
bit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, because I thought some of their earlier stuff was reminding me a bit like Sublime or something like that, you know? So I like how they've sort of moved away and they've got this other sort of sound now that is not really indie rock. It's... I don't know how you describe it, really, but it's...
They're doing their own thing.
They're
It's
doing their own
Sticky
thing.
Fingers
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah. And the album cover for this one, Yours to Keep's really good as well. It's got like that tiger, right, on the front of it.
I was
It's
gonna say
all
leopard.
Leopard, yeah. Okay, it's all graphical. Stiffy, that's like what people call them, apparently. That's the shortened name, Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
Stiffy.
Stiffy.
Apparently the album cover was done by this guy called Brad Teodoruk. I'm not saying his last name correctly, but Paddy was saying that the bass player from the band, that he replaced designer drugs with designer clothing. And he said he went to a Gucci store and he was in there looking around. He said some other guy comes in and they're like handing him champagne and stuff like that. And he was like, who's this guy? He was like, I got to talk to this guy. And turns out to be this artist. They get talking. The guy shows him some of his stuff. And then Paddy's like, oh, you got to do the album cover for our next album kind of thing. Weird. Met an artist in a Gucci store. Yeah, and then he did it.
That's cool.
And this guy's stuff's it's really good. He's very sort of all this vibrant, colourful stuff. I just found a photo of this guy. I'll put it up on the screen as well. He kind of looks like he could be a member of Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, he's the next member.
He's like
He does.
he has the Paddy haircut a little bit.
Yeah.
Like weird. I don't know what.
He's got those bangs,
Yeah, those like
the scrubbable on the facial
exactly.
hair.
Yeah. The 70s glasses.
Yeah, the glasses. It's the t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah. I thought the other thing that's interesting about this band, Sticky Fingers, there's like this documentary, short 14-minute thing, I think that was made in 2012 that someone re-uploaded to YouTube. It's got a lot of old interviews with the band members around that time. Dylan looks like super young. He looks like a clean-cut skater teenager.
Right.
And I was looking at later things with this guy with like a mop haircut and like, and I was like, is that the same guy?
Wow. Yeah, he grew up.
He grew up a lot, very different looking. It's like two different people. But anyway, in this documentary, the manager was like interviewed a little bit kind of thing, and he said some interesting things. An observation that I just didn't think of until I heard him say it was because this band, they're like chaotic, right? Their energy is chaotic as people. They seem like, how the fuck can they like put stuff together? But he's like, the manager said like, their music is mature. Like, all their maturity is in their music, but not really in their personalities.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because the music is good and it sounds like these parts are working together.
Yeah.
It's not like a garagey, punky sound.
No, it's very like well put together.
It's refined.
And the lyrics as well are really good. There's this one track, it's called Hurricane. I couldn't find it on any album, but there's like a live acoustic version that a couple of the guys did. And there's like a reaction video that someone did of like watching the video and giving his reaction to it. And the lyrics were like super deep. The guy was saying, I had to like, before I listened to the song, I had to go look up the lyrics. And they said they're very deep. They're very like, well thought out kind of thing. So it's weird. Like they have these really thoughtful, deep lyrics, really good music. But also, I would be scared to hang out with them in real life. They seem dangerous a little bit.
Literally.
Yeah, literally dangerous.
Watch out.
Well, because you know about the other thing that happened, right? With Paddy and Dylan. You hear about this?
I'm not sure.
There was a whole court case because Paddy had like bashed Dylan over the head.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
think he was sent to prison or something. Or he was sentenced to prison, but he served it in community service, I think. But
that was bad.
That was bad. But then they seemed to get together because that was in 2018 or 19, I think that happened.
What happened with that? They just had an argument?
There's some argument in an alleyway, I think. I don't know the specifics. Paddy like assaulted Dylan. Dylan must have got him arrested or done something because there was a whole court case about it.
Right.
And then Paddy was sentenced to, I think, like over a year in prison or something. But they were allowed to let him serve it as community service, so he didn't actually have to go to jail. But they patched things up because they're back now in 2022,
right,
with that new album, all the same lineup, all the same members. So, but yeah, dangerous shit. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's unexplainable because they're like friends and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether Dylan pressed charges. It must have done. It sounds like he wouldn't. I don't know how the law system works over there. I'm sure it's not that different than here, but like, you would have to press charges to have it go that far, right? Something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, if you guys know any more about that trial or that incident,
Yeah.
let us know because we'd be interested to find out.
Yeah.
Drop it in the comments. And then, so yeah, where else are we? Basically, this brings us to 2022. Their Lekker Boy album, called Lekker Boy, Sticky Fingers' newest album.
Yeah.
13 songs, 52 minutes.
Yeah.
Another solid one. Same kind of trajectory as the music styling, not moving away from the reggae.
Yeah.
Moving into their own kind of style. And there's good stuff on here.
Yeah.
We're going to end the podcast with the track off of this so we could all listen.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
It's good. Yeah, it's solid. They're getting better and better.
It's really good.
I'm pleased that somehow they managed to string things together and keep it going and not implode.
Despite the adverse variables in their band.
Yeah, because I feel like they're not completely sober. Like I've seen recent interviews, and Dylan still seems a little like he might need a little bit of more chill out time or something. I don't know. Time out, man.
Yeah.
Not. I'm just saying they just seem still a little bit intense, kind of thing.
Sure.
But their music's great, and apparently Lekker. I don't know if you say Lekker, how it's pronounced.
So
Lekker.
I was saying it.
It's like slang. I think it's like South African slang or something. It means several things. It means like sweet or fantastic or something like that. So Lekker Boy, that's where that title comes from.
With this an old Asian man on the cover with grills.
It's quite the album cover.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to look at, but the music's good.
Check us out on YouTube. You can see that cover, or go Google the Sticky Fingers,
Or Google it not while you're driving though.
No, pull over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at Lekker Boy pictures.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got on Sticky Fingers, my man.
Yeah, me too. Good music.
Interesting band, good music.
Yeah.
That's all to be said. I think we told the story pretty well.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it was cool, but I mean, overall, we're here for the music.
Yeah.
And the music is good.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. I was gonna say, usually I like to know the creative process, where people came from. That's kind of like the main thing of this podcast. But like, yeah, it's like and I think we've talked about it before, like how media narratives can get spun. It's like you either write your own narrative or it gets written for you, and I think they've had a little bit of that happen to them. You know, the narrative has been written about them rather than them setting it straight.
Right.
But they've also said, just listen to the music. They put it all into the music. They said, if you're wondering what our response is, just listen to the albums.
Yeah,
So,
and that's fair.
yeah.
That should be the way that they respond.
Yeah.
So that's great.
So yeah, that's all I have.
Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
Let's call it. I think this was a good episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. If you want to hang out with us, Roots to Grooves on Instagram at Roots to Grooves, Twitter at Roots to Grooves, YouTube
At Roots to Grooves, youtube.com at Roots to Grooves.
Where else are we?
I
I think that's it for right now. Oh, TikTok
TikTok.
at Signal Radio.
Yeah.
So hit us up. If you guys want to talk about Sticky Fingers, leave some info or facts in the comments. And if you want to hit us up directly, say what's up, please do. We'd love to say hello. And Jay's got the email for us.
Roots to Grooves at signalradio.com, SIGNL radio.com.
Sicilian gonna come again. Another made mess of the head. They got them guns, they gonna ooh.
chicken? Seriously? Thinking I'd like to take a brick and smash your fucking face into fucking hamburger.
Oh, woof, woof. I'll make a grand. Oh, doof, doof. We were sipping on some top shelf scotch, watching, waiting for a goof. Would it get soundproof? That's the truth. A man down like a Tony Trisosa. Took a knee for the flag with Patrol the Closer. A knick-knack, patties, whack, tater sacks. They are sleeping with the fishes and the stars. Sicilian gon' come again. Another made mess of the head. They got them guns, they gonna ooze. The ringing gunshots of the war. Leave the kid alone, he's still breathing. Tough guy!
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signal Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's signal radio.com.